What is up, Space Noids, Earthlings, and new types alike? We are back for another edition of History of Universal Century. Last time, we saw the rise of the Zabi family. It seems that Daikun Soto Zabi was the most calm and rational of the Zabi family. Being the patriarch, he seemed to have the most experience of the Zabi clan. Giran Zabi can be considered the most fascist of the bunch, while Dozel Zabi can be seen as the outcast of the family, as he was revered by his subordinates and genuinely passionate towards his men. Both Garma and Caecilia seemed to toe the line of father dearest. They were children who wanted to do nothing but please the patriarch. It's a shame that pleasing dad involved the death of millions of space nerds and earthlings alike. But between the Zabi family and Zeon Daikun was a child playing the long game at getting his revenge on the Zabi family. This person is Daikun's son, Casval Daikun, who is also known as Char Aznable. In this video, we will cover how Casval grew into Char Aznable, where Char received his name, and discuss briefly on whether or not Gundam Origins had to develop a backstory for certain aspects of Char's personality. After Daikun's death, tensions remained high amongst the Daikun and the Zabis. Daikun seemed to use Daikun's death to seize power. Meanwhile, Sasuro Zabi abused Caecilia for letting the Rals get away. Last week I noted that it was because she abused young Casval, but that didn't happen yet in the timeline. Because of this assault, Caecilia plants a bomb, killing Sasuro and injuring Dozel during Daikun's funeral procession. Even though Caecilia is to blame, the death of Sasuro was blamed on the Daikun family. This led to an even greater divide. Casval Daikun is the son of Zeon and Astrea. He is the brother of Artesia Som Daikun, who will later be known as Sayla Mass, a pivotal character and member of White Base during the One-Year War. Astrea is not Zeon's wife, but rather his concubine or mistress. If you recently saw Dune, it is very similar to the situation regarding Lady Jessica and Duke Leto Atreides. Zeon's real wife is Rosalucia. Rosalucia became ill and retreated into isolation. Unable to bear children, Zeon sought solace in Astrea, who was originally a cabaret singer who inspired Zeon to rise up against the EFF. Rosalucia was extremely resentful of Astrea because she could bear children. After the funeral procession, Rosalucia forced Astrea and her children into imprisonment on Side 3. Knowing that they would probably be forced into isolation, Astrea, with the help of the Ral family and Crowley Hammond, who was a love interest to Ramba Ral, makes plans to get Casval and Artesia off of Side 3. Using an RTX 65 gun tank, they make their escape, but are met with Dozel's gun blockade. They eventually make their escape on foot and are met with Ramba Ral. Ramba Ral and the Daikun kids stow away as luggage and make their way to Earth. Here they live out their lives with Zeon family friend Tiabolo Mass. Casval and Artesia now go by the aliases Edward and Sayla Mass. They receive education on the rise of the Principality of Zeon, although Jimbo Ral gives his opinionated version of history from his perspective. While living out life on Earth, Caecilia plans an assassination attempt on the remaining Daikun family members. During this assassination attempt, Jimbo Ral is killed and Mass is injured. To show loyalty to the Zabi family, he moves the Mass family to Texas Colony, with Casval and Artesia following. Texas Colony is a part of Side 5. It was originally designed as a Midwestern-inspired luxury colony for rich space noids. This was straight up a Westworld in the Gundam universe. And yes, I do want that spin-off. While living on Texas Colony, Casval becomes good friends with Roger's son, Char Aznable. Char looks exactly like Casval, with the exception that Char has red eyes and Casval has blue eyes. Artesia, notice how uncanny it is. But you can kind of see where this is going, right? Over the past years, Casval has become cold and calculating, albeit an outstanding student. Suddenly, Crowley sends a letter to Casval and Artesia, informing them that their mother passed away from illness due to the stress of being a prisoner. This devastates Artesia, which isn't her year, as her cat also dies. This is a motivating factor for Casval to leave Side 5 as he decides to follow Char to Zeon's military academy. During their trip to the academy at the spaceport, Casval notices that something seems off, so he decides to use Char to his advantage. He plants a gun on Char to slow down the immigration process. During this time, Casval makes a plan to have them switch clothes and pretend to be one another. But during this switch, Casval keeps Char's military acceptance papers. Casval, pretending to be Char, is held up at the spaceport while Char, pretending to be Casval, is allowed to make the flight. Casval's instincts were correct, as there were assassins waiting for him. Char and everyone on that flight was killed as the assassins planted a bomb on the ship. Now Casval, who looks like Char, has military acceptance papers to Zeon Academy. Casval Daikun goes through the rest of his life impersonating Char Aznable and will be called Char from now on. While at the academy, Char is met with Lino Fernandez, who was a friend of the real Char back in the day. He notices a change in Char's behavior. Char was hyper-focused and excelled in everything, which upset their class representative Garma Zabi. However, over time, Garma and Char became friends. This seems to be Char's first move towards getting his revenge on the Zabi family. And how do you do that? You infiltrate and gain their trust. An entire agricultural block has been destroyed from an accident from a local vessel. Char and Garma assisted with the cleanup. During this time, Garma informs him of the mobile workers that were helping with the cleanup. He informs Char that his brother Dozel is developing a mobile suit version designed for combat. This intrigues Char tremendously. The accident of the vessel caused greater strife between Zeon and EFF. Anarchy breaks out in the city of Zoom. Char convinces Garma of leading a group of cadets to attack the local Federation barracks in response to the authoritarian grasp over Side 3. Garma, with the help of Char, takes control of the EFF base. During this time, Char convinces Lino to seize a Type 61 tank, but doesn't tell the Allied cadets that a fellow ally was in the tank, having Lino killed by his own comrades. We start to see what happens when you cross Char's path. Things will not turn out well. Lino's death is just a taste of what Char is capable of. Dozel Zabi, after being distracted, eventually calls off the cadets. This event would later be known as the Dawn Rebellion and the beginning of the One-Year War. As a result of the rebellion, Char was used as sort of a scapegoat to appease the Federation, and Dozel essentially dismissed him from the academy. Char made a request to Dozel. Should he ever return to Zeon, he would like to be a part of the mobile suit program. Dozel, mad that Garma can't keep his mouth shut, agrees to Char's request. Char then spends some time on Earth. It is here that he meets Lala, as he notices that she was a new type using her abilities to win at some gambling. But eventually, Char makes his way back to Zeon. But that is where we will end this video. It has been 3 videos so far without any Japanese robot talk, but I promise you in the next video we will finally talk about giant Japanese robots. We're also going to talk about Char's glasses. I thought we would talk about them this time, but we'll wait for the next Char video to talk about them. Are they stupid? Is it just prequel gonna prequel? Or is it something that we as an audience member needed? We will eventually do a part 2 and 3 and 4 of Char's. We cover more and more of the 1 Year War. But in the next video, I want to go into detail about the Dawn Rebellion and the start of the 1 Year War. And that's going to be great. We're finally getting into the war, folks. From there, we will also talk about the defection of Minovsky and the Battle of Loon and so much more. But that'll do it for us this week. See you next time, Space Noids.